also sending to Congress a message opposing authorization of a permanent Peace Corps.
Oh, good old JFK, the best president ever. Yeah, no, never, not at all, not even close. What was the Peace Corps for? Now, normal people would say it was so that we would volunteer in other countries. Yeah, it sure was. Mainly Africa, Asia, and Latin America, mind you. But, he created this, and then you think about his famous speech about ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Yeah, but I pay you guys taxes and stuff. Is that not enough of what I'm doing? Not to the Kennedys. No, so what the Peace Corps was sending Americans, mainly to Asia, Africa, and Latin America, to build up their countries. You wouldn't get paid. If you did, it would be very little. But he says in his speech, you likely won't get paid, or if you are, this is not about the money, but you'll have a place to stay. So that sounds like slave labor. That sounds like we'll get even with those Americans, even though we weren't the people bringing slaves here. Again, it was the British crown. But Kennedy was tied to the wrong side of the British crown and the aristocrats and then the Catholicism. That's slave labor. That's what he did. Because while he was sending Americans over there to build up those countries, well, he was bringing Kenya students here to go to the Ivy Leagues. Oh, well, he did that before he even became president. What am I saying? I'm sure it continued after he became president. Yes. So while he was a congressman, he decided to pay for African students to come here out of the Kennedy Foundation. It was like $100,000 for 2 different flights for Kenya students to come here. But the State Department didn't want him to. So why would he go against the State Department? He wasn't even president. But all the Kennedy lovers would make all these excuses. But the problem is that, well, Barack Obama Sr. was on the second flight. I mean, we literally got Junior because of the Kennedys. So, I mean, the Peace Corps kind of goes hand in hand. Like, I'm going to become president and I'm going to make it sound like to the Americans that this is your duty to go to these other countries and learn about their culture, because that's what he wanted you to do. Of course he did, while he was bringing all of them in your country going to Ivy League schools. Yeah, slave labor, slave labor. Here's a little bit more about it. The Peace Corps was envisioned as a means to promote mutual understanding. Americans would better understand other people's culture, and people in other countries would better understand Americans. I mean, I guess that could sound good. Or if you're a globalist or progressive like the Kennedys were, you'd want to change the culture of America. So you'd want to get people out in the Peace Corps in other countries instead of, having Americans, help Americans build. Nope. Can't have that. Kennedy sought to counteract the negative image of the ugly American and American imperialism in newly independent nations in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Yes, so that's what it was for. You were to go there, not earn any money, build up their country, do as they tell you, learn about their culture. All so that they can see you in some better light. Yeah, I doubt that would happen. It was just about slave labor while bringing those people in to go to the Ivy League schools. That's what JFK did. I mean, he did way worse than that, in my opinion. I mean, he deliberately effed up the Bay of Pigs so he could go after the CIA and discredit them. And then again, you had MLK coming up the back end, and he started going after the FBI. All these little ways to discredit America. His first day, he managed to get us into a nuclear crisis, for God's sake. And then ended up giving in to Russia, one of our nukes. I mean, talk about wanting to do everything. And yet, what did the media do? They put this man on a pedestal. Why? Because he was tied to all the wrong British aristocrats and the Catholic Church. See, the reason Ireland ended up, because I did a video recently about how Ireland played neutral during World War II, but there's many reports that they didn't just play neutral. There were people helping with weather reports, like in the air, like air reports, helping the Nazis. But that shouldn't surprise you. Ireland is mainly Catholic. Yeah, anybody who's Irish American, you likely went to Catholic school. Well, Ireland is mostly Catholic. Catholics were in with Hitler. So you see how it's like in every way. And yet then you look at the presidents that have been shot. God didn't let Trump get shot. Even Reagan, who was shot, he didn't die. But for whatever reason with Kennedy, God didn't intervene there. I wonder why. Now, most people would say, that's horrible. No, I'm just being truthful. Nobody else will say it. Nobody will probably see this. So anybody who does see it, you don't have to worry, because it's not going to be like anybody in government is ever going to tell you this or question any of this. Instead, they'll paint a pretty picture. They'll build up Kennedy. Oh, he's pretty now, and we can just forget about it all. Everything he did, because he's dead. We can't talk about that. Yeah, no. Why do you think that Trump would appoint himself the chairman of the Kennedy Center? Like, why, out of all the things, as soon as he got into being president, he did that like within his first 90 days. Well, there's a reason, because they were using the media to push Jew hatred. Yeah, the Kennedys owned a lot of the movie business. Joe Kennedy did, going all the way back to when it was movies with no sound. It was just you saw the bodies, but they didn't have audio yet. That kind of stuff. Yeah, Joe Kennedy had a total affair with, what was it, Gloria Swanson. She was one of those voiceless actresses. Where the words would be on the screen, but there was no audio. So Joe Kennedy, he literally said he wanted to control the movie industry because he felt like there was too much Jew niceness. He felt there should be more Nazi sympathizing. So can you see why Trump headed himself up as chairman of the Kennedy Center? Yeah, because they did a lot of damage, the Kennedys. Nobody will ever say it. But why should you have to do anything for your country? Is it not enough that you pay taxes? No, it was slave labor. They didn't get paid. They were made to believe, oh, I got to learn about this other culture. Yeah, did they still see you as an ugly American? I'm sure they did. Because that's Kennedy, that's what his role was. I don't know why they do it. I don't. I think it's just because they, it's a jealousy thing with the people that are tied, well, to the Nazis and also to, the British Empire. There's people, I'm sure, that's still jealous of, losing the war. And the Kennedys were the perfect tools to get in. So Kennedys were not on the right side of America. For anybody that does see this, I will go to my grave swearing it. Will anybody in this country ever say it? No. But the Peace Corps was all about sending American slaves over to Africa to build up their nation so that they didn't see you as an ugly American. Yeah. And you want to think Kennedy was on the right side of America? Never was.